Good evening, everybody. This is Tait Fletcher. It's Pirate Life. Jodi Mitic, part 2. Maybe we could call this, or we could call this part Deuce.
Part
because
Deuce
we're over here
good.
at Deuce Gym right now. So part Deuce, I like that a lot. I want to go ahead and again, I want to thank my gracious and generous sponsors, CavemanCoffeeCo.com. Check it out. Get all your coffee needs there. And then I'd also like to thank TDs. TDs North, TDs South, TDs West. I don't know how many TDs you got out there, but TDs is a wonderful, visually enticing establishment in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And featured performers at TDs will be on this very podcast maybe once a month or so, once every 6 weeks, whoever is maybe featured performer at said establishment. Right off I-25, you can find them. And you can like them on Facebook, I guess. And we'll see where it goes. You
Does
know,
TDs have a Facebook?
TDs, I think, does have a Facebook. I
Wow.
believe they have 12,000 likes or something like that. And originalnutritionals.com, I'd like to give a little shout out to for all your fish oil needs. They have a great new product out that tastes like grapefruit in a delicious way that fish oil can for really high performance athletes, of which I don't partake because I'm not of that caliber of athlete, but I really love you guys that are.
We act as if, though, right?
Right, we act as if. Yeah, I'm over here. I pretend like a mother. And so joining me today is war hero veteran and
new friend
and a real a guy doing some real big things with other guys looking to solve the real horrible dilemma of PTSD and soldiers coming back and how to mitigate the deficit that they reach and how to go ahead and bring them back from wherever they go and not treating it as a lifelong illness, which a lot of guys are seeing that it's just not, and that it's always been looked at that way. And then a really good friend of mine and benefactor and owner of Deuce Gym and movement specialist, and you can find him at Functional Coach, and Logan Gelbrich. I guess is a professional athlete. He was a baseball player. I don't know, whatever. And
he hit a ball with a stick real good.
And the
He put us through the gears tonight.
you know we just got done doing a great workout down here at Deuce, right off Lincoln, across from the Whole Foods in Venice. And there's a strongman course down here that I've been doing twice a week for the last, I don't know, 6 weeks or something now. And Jody got to do it with me tonight, which was awesome. We carried kegs and stones, and
best workout I've had in a long time.
it was a blast.
Yeah. So, how did this workout come about?
Well, I made it up. But, like I kind of described earlier, Tait's taking part in a specialty course here. So, our program is, in most part, headed up with this GPP program, or CrossFit, General Physical Preparedness. But then we have these, lots of long words.
Talk about general physical preparedness.
Talk about it. That's just your basic everything, right? You can dabble across the board. You know what I mean?
And so, like, the idea being that is that come from where specialists will fail over broad domains, and that you want to be generally prepared for whatever may come about. Is that the idea?
Yeah, I mean, so I think that's one way to look at it. Like, I think often in CrossFit, that's the way to look at it. Be like, oh, cool, you can squat 1,000 pounds, but let me see you walk on your hands. And I mean, my thing is, like, the guy that squats 1,000 pounds probably doesn't care about walking on his hands. You know what I mean? So that's, I think, a little bit more negative way to put it. The way I'd like to put it is like that. GPP is kind of a critical base for anyone, right? And so whether you are a golfer or an accountant or a housewife or a professional baseball player, God forbid, right? That you could benefit from having some capacity with regards to speed or strength or agility or coordination or some of these skills that you could hang in like kind of across this mix of competence.
What I found where it came up in my life most, it was the first time I ever went paddleboard surfing.
Yeah.
And it was February, and it was cold, but really pretty. And I got out on the board, and they're like, the biggest part is to get past the break, really to paddle past. And they're like, and you want to do it the first time.
That's where it starts, right?
It's kind of like lifting the stuff. It's like, it's pretty taxing, so it's an expensive movement if you mess up.
Right.
The next one will be harder.
Yes.
So if you don't get it the first time, the next time won't be as forgiving, and the third time will be worse.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
And so, so that was the first thing, is like, go hard, go into it. And what, I don't know, halfway through the day or something, a buddy of mine, he was like, dude, how are you feeling right now? I'm like, I feel great, man. It's awesome. And he goes, man, I came out here with my brother last week, and he was fucking dead. It was,
right.
and I think that's the thing, is like, I'm not a swimmer. I'm not, like, I didn't surf before, but just that kind of thing of like, always kind of moving and doing different things. It's like, I felt like I was adaptable more.
Right.
I was like, wow, that shit really works.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's like the true win or victory for it. Like, I'm not big on the whole, like, now, how did you put your bag in the overhead compartment, Tait?
Right,
like,
right.
You're like, I hammer curled that shit and I pressed it. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? I didn't snatch it up there or whatever. You know what I mean? But it's like, yeah, I can hang. I can go, do Runyon with these guys, or I can do whatever,
right.
and hang. You know?
I can rock climb like a beginner.
Yeah,
or whatever,
exactly.
Whatever.
Exactly.
Oh shit! I got Keith Jardine calling, and he sleeps early.
Speaker.
Is that right? Okay. We'll call him right back, and we'll go on speaker.
I feel like this. What if I press this button?
I don't know that we should press any. I don't know what those buttons do.
I would turn up this
What? Yeah, we don't know that. You're thinking a lot, and now you're talking into the air. So what we already learned today, Jody? Hey, Keith.
He's making fun of me. It's all right.
What's going on, dude?
So
We're just doing a podcast, and now you're on the air. You're part of the podcast now.
Oh, right on.
hello, Keith.
What are we talking about?
Well, we're just talking about general preparedness. We're sitting down here at Deuce Gym with Logan and with my new friend Jodi Mitic, who just came down from Canada to visit America because he wanted to see the greatest country in the world.
All right, general preparedness.
You know, general physical preparedness for life. You know how it is. You know, out there, like, hey, maybe I might have to bench press a bus today to save a puppy. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and be ready for that.
The apocalypse, you never know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Right on. I prepared my yoga class for heating up tomorrow morning. I forgot to set the heater, so I'm just leaving that place.
Right on. You got coffee coming to me?
Yeah. I got some. I bought a bunch of coffee makers today. We got a lot of coffee ready to go. This thing is just like taking off way too fast.
That's good.
Ask Keith if he knows who his latest monthly subscriber is to Caveman Coffee Company.
Do you know who your latest monthly subscriber is to Caveman Coffee Company? Logan wants to know.
Who is that?
Here's a hint.
Is that Logan?
Yeah.
That is right. And what did he win?
What do you, so
Can he just go over to your house, though?
I wish, but you didn't bring me any coffee, fucker. I got like 4 beans left. I got enough for the smallest espresso shot ever tomorrow morning.
Hey, that's the greatest, though, man. It's like when you're at somebody else's house and they make caveman coffee.
It's pretty good.
You can experience somebody else's recipe. And
Yep.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, this dude hit me up on Twitter or on the website, and he goes, "Oh, your own recipe or whatever, huh?" I don't think so. It sounds like somebody else's recipe or something, and all this, and talking about bulletproof stuff and whatever. I'm like, or you could not be a creep and just think it's your own recipe. Like, how do you make it, dummy? Like, what the fuck? Boy, people sure do split hairs, Keith.
what's this? You can get a monthly subscription. What's that?
Yeah, so you can get a monthly subscription to Caveman Coffee. Like you send in your intent, like what you want. If you want a bag of white and you want a bag of our black diamond, or however you want it mixed up, and we'll just send you a recurring like 5 pounds every month or whatever the deal is.
Badass.
Yeah.
I will be subscribing shortly.
Right on. That's our first Canadian subscriber right there.
There it is.
That's the thing with our coffees. It's not about the mixture. It's not like one mixture. There's a million different
Yeah. It's
it's
infinity.
But it's about the coffee that blends well with it. Like when we found a better coffee that just tastes better with the butter, with the coconut milk, with the coconut
Yeah,
cream.
that coconut cream I messed with the other day, dude, and that was amazing.
Yeah, huh?
Uh-huh.
It
Yep.
felt great too. It made you feel like just as good or maybe even better, right?
It was better. It was great, man. I loved it.
Yeah.
I love that switching too from like cow butter to like goat milk butter. Like that goat butter is fucking nice too. It's so smooth. Anyway,
I just bought a, when I was in New York, I bought a homeless, I haven't used it yet. It was like a European butter, but it was like blended with some sort of cheese or something like that. Like, it just sounded so good. I had to take it home and imagine that with some vegetables and stuff.
I don't even understand what you just said.
I heard cheese.
You got a
maybe
European
vegetables.
blender with cheese?
Oh, I was at some store in Manhattan, some fancy store, and they had this fancy butter, European butter, but it was blended with cheese.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Are you gonna? I tried to get that $15 cup of coffee the other day, and they were
Yeah, what was it?
they were all sold out of it. Can you fucking imagine? They're selling $15 cups of coffee, and they were sold out of it.
Are they big cups?
Yeah.
16 ounces.
Have you done the $80 cup of coffee?
It could be
You
Starbucks.
have.
He's like, oh man, this is awesome.
Hey, did you ever try that? The one with the beans roasted in the rodent's ass?
No,
That's like an $80 shot of espresso.
yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Isn't that the one where the animal
I've heard
eats
of
it and then
I'll
poops it
drink
out?
Yeah, there's one where there's like a small rodent in South America that eats the coffee beans, and that's what they like, and then they shit it out, and some poor bastard harvests that, and then they sell it to white folks to drink. And I had one in Miami. I was with Rogan, and we're down there, and we're like, well, we got to find out what an $80 espresso tastes like, and kind of shitty. That's what I'm gonna say.
Don't need to hear that.
It rates itself.
It's-
It rates itself.
It's totally what you would think you would be coming out of an animal's ass. Oh, all right. Well, I'm gonna take you off speaker and let Jody and Logan run this goddamn podcast for a second. All right.
All right. So, listen, man. I had the best workout I think I've had since I got hurt.
Did you like it? Wow, that's cool.
Did you not hear me screaming and grunting
I
and
did.
sweating like a man?
I did.
I've had some good workout. Like, before I got hurt, I was in probably, I was 30, best shape, peaking physically. I think men usually peak really in their late 20s, early 30s. I was lean and mean, and I got blown up, and then I obviously I had other things to worry about.
Right, yeah.
But I haven't been pushed like that for a long time.
Well, cool,
and
man.
and also it's because it's so interesting.
Right?
It's
like
not just
fun,
laying on the
yeah.
bench press, or it's not standing in front of the mirror doing curls.
Yeah,
Man.
it's fun. It's unique, right? And I think you said something in the middle of the workout that I definitely understood exactly what you meant, and you were like, "This is how it's supposed to be." Like,
Yeah.
this is we're doing work, and it made sense to you in your mind.
That's
right?
what men are supposed to do.
Carry stuff.
Supposed
do
to
the
carry
work.
shit, sweat, grunt, get mad at it.
Right.
Stupid rock.
Right.
I was getting so mad at that rock, and I just wanted to throw it over the fence and smash it.
So he's talking about today we had Atlas stones in the mix. We carried kegs. You guys also did some grip work.
What are those called?
Farmer's handles, yeah. So 3 by 62nd.
I'm pretty sure my buddy Curd, he runs a gym in Ottawa called Hostile.
Yeah.
It's pretty badass. It's very dynamic, kind of like yours.
Right.
Pretty sure he has that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't have the rocks or the kegs that I've seen, but I'm gonna go back. If you can give me this program, maybe like a Coles Notes version,
For sure, yeah.
and so I can get started down there because
that'd be awesome.
It was the way you did it, really, I don't know, connected.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
I'll be in shape in no time. I want to do like for my charity. I want to do like one of those nude calendars where you cover up your parts with like your equipment.
Yeah.
So I'll maybe I'll have like one of my prosthetic legs will be off and I'll cover my junk with it, and then we'll sell it, and I'll be January, so I gotta look good.
Right.
So I got till next January.
All right,
I guess.
We'll get it done. Done. Maybe you can reignite the fire with your strongman buddies. They'll
like I said, the one guy, he's a triathlete now, and I haven't heard from the other guy for years.
Right.
We had a party one night because he was 300 pounds.
Holy.
And I was like, you're happy about this?
Right.
And he was pretty stoked.
A guy I really, really respect, and I owe, I guess, virtually everything that I know about strongman to Rob Orlando, incredible coach. He said that about strongman. He was like headed in that direction, and it's kind of like this inevitable thing. Like, well, I'm in it. This year I'm 300. The next year the party is that I'm 380, and the year after that it's and where does that end? And I guess what Rob found or has said is that wasn't going to end well, and so he decided to kind of go the other way.
Yeah, I can't see the body being happy with being that size,
right?
Especially if it's not meant to be,
right? And we got to work hard to gain weight like that, or at least
it's the joints and the your ligaments and everything. Like it can't just can't be good,
right?
At the end of the day, being that much bigger than you probably should be naturally. Right. So I don't know what Tait's doing. This is unusual. We're on Tait's podcast without him. I feel like we can do whatever we want.
Well, here's the deal. Tait's talking to Keith Jardine, so what
the dean
they
of
want to
mean.
Do is going to be what they do. And we sit our asses over here and chop.
Tait took me to Baby Blue Barbecue. I had some delicious animal.
They rock.
Oh man, it was so. But they put onions in a lot of stuff, and I'm not good with onions.
Not a good onion guy.
Well, no, my tongue gets all swollen. And then I get really gassy.
There you go.
And then I shit myself.
Let's get it going.
No, I'd rather not.
Unfortunately,
I got a lot to do tomorrow.
Cast.
Tomorrow we're gonna do another shoot for the piece for Vice. We're gonna talk to one of the soldiers that's been through the therapy, the virtual reality therapy. Yeah. So hopefully he's in a good state of mind, and we have a chance to sit down with him for a good amount of time and get his take on everything, because they're having so much success with this system. Like, they did a study, and 16 out of 20 were cured.
Wow.
Like, not just learned how to deal with PTSD, they felt they were cured.
Wow, that's what I was going to ask you. So this is relatively newer?
Yeah. PTSD is one of those things that's like, seems like there's no real cure for anybody that's the same.
Yeah.
But this thing seems to be working. And there's a few other things that are coming out now. Some people are using like psychedelic drugs, but it's not like you take it and then you just get to wander around tripping. Like you take it, and then once your mind is in an emotional state, the therapist will sit down and bring up the incidents, make you realize what you're feeling, and because you're that much more sensitive and stuff. And then there's another guy who came up with it, or I think this isn't probably unique to him, but there's like groups that do, it's almost like a theater group, and you'll get together and act out scenes of each other's trauma and
that
stuff.
That sounds like it's pretty critical, right? You have to like go back there in a little bit.
The feeling is that PTSD is caused by avoidance of feelings and stuff.
Okay.
So all this is doing is making you face what happened and then talking you through it, so you know what you're going through and that you don't suppress or ignore. Right. Which leads to the only way to do that is drugs and booze and other things that some guys get into gambling or they're just depressed. They're just not happy. So
that's terrible.
Yeah, but anyway, let's talk about fun stuff.
Like Atlas stones.
Okay, so where would I get How big is your biggest stone?
250. So we have stones that go.
Who's lifting
from,
250 stones? 250-pound stones.
Very few
Can
people. No one here has shouldered the 250. I've loaded it. That's the video that you saw from Tait. Like loaded it on the 48-inch bar.
Right.
I'm thinking that some of that training will help myself or somebody else shoulder it. We have this whole thing where if you can shoulder the stone, you can name it. So we're all chipping away. Tait and I think, have gotten the closest.
Right on. And how long has Deuce Gym been here? On what's the road here? Lincoln
Boulevard.
In Venice.
Which I believe is Highway 1, which, I don't know, is kind of cool, I guess. So, like, yeah, there's a story there. So, like, the Deuce, this is obviously a garage. You pointed that out. It's very obviously a garage. We didn't want to, like, hide that and pretend this was something else. And so our branding is such that it's this very, like, vintage race car action.
Yeah.
And the short story is that in 1915, the Grand Prix of the world was supposed to be held in Santa Monica. Santa Monica opted out because it was dangerous and bad and this, that, or the other. So Venice raised their hand and said, we'll do it. And so it was held here. Part of the track ran right in front. Here's like a 300-mile course.
What?
Yeah, we have a picture of the guy that won it. It's like just imagine like goggles and old school race car.
Open cockpit.
Yeah, totally. Top speed was like 51 miles an hour.
And that was crazy
just
back then.
mind-blowing. Yeah, there's like 70,000 people here. It was like international news, yada, yada, yada. And so we figure we freak people out all the time too. So it would kind of fit our mold. Plus, we used to have an outdoor program in Santa Monica. And
but the term Deuce, what is that like?
Deuce. So the number 2 is symbolic as like this is the second gym.
Okay.
First, yeah, which also is hopefully foreshadowing to many others down the road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be against this type of gym being in Ottawa.
Oh, we're doing it, right?
I'll find you a spot. I'll find you an old garage. Even we'll stick to the theme.
Perfect.
Is the other one a garage?
No, it was an outdoor deal. So it was
it's just an open space.
Very unique thing that kind of became this like little mini cult following. That was the fake gym shirt that Tait has on.
He wouldn't tell me because he wanted me to eat some vegetables I didn't want to eat, and so I said, to hell with your vegetables, and he said, well, then I'm not telling you about the gym, but I just found out about the fake gym shirt, so what's up now? So what did you and Keith Jardine talk about, the Dean of Mean?
Oh, we've got this event coming up at Brick CrossFit on Santa Monica here and on Saturday, and it's a Caveman Coffee. They've got an event there, like a CrossFit Games type event, and we supply them coffee, and we're going to go make Caveman Coffee there for all the athletes and all that. So he and Jody are coming out, and we're just talking about
another Jody?
Logistics. A different Jody, his fiance. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what kind of butter do you use for your coffee?
I like Smure, which I also call Thor butter.
Thor.
It's a nice Icelandic butter, and I think it's like the cleanest butter there is.
Yeah.
A lot of people like Kerrygold, which I don't even know if it's suspicious to me. I feel like there's some other shit in there.
Okay.
It's not. They're not 100%. Like they're close, but I don't think that they're.
We can't even get that in Canada.
I know.
Why can't you get
good
I don't
butter
know.
there?
I
What
tried to
about milk?
buy
Can
some.
Can you get unpasteurized milk or any of that?
No.
Nothing.
You can't. What you got to do is you got to buy into a cow.
Right.
Because if you own a cow, you can drink its milk raw.
Right.
So to get around the law or whatever,
You have co-ops or whatever,
there's people who have co-ops on dairy cows.
Yeah, we have the same thing here because you'll go to jail if you sell unpasteurized.
Isn't that crazy?
Milk. It's wild. Yeah, it's a trip.
We had a guy in Ottawa. He was an army guy. He was a major, and every year he butchers a pig for his family and his friend. And so I forget which department or ministry. They were like stake. They heard about this, that him and his friend butchered this pig, and then he gives half the meat to the friend. And so this guy stayed in the neighbor's treehouse with a camera, staking out his house, taking pictures of his kids.
A regular guy or a cop?
Well, one of the members of the agricultural or food and health
What a
safety.
fucking nerd to climb.
But
a
he had
tree.
no. Check it out though.
All that trouble.
He had
Yeah.
no
creeper.
warrant. He had no warrant to do this, and part of his evidence, he had like hundreds of pictures of the guy's kids playing in the backyard,
Creepy.
and pictures of him pulling up in his truck and just like in uniform and coming home from his work as an army guy, and so and
That's
then they
like
show
a dude
up
that
and
fucked
they
that
raid.
dude's wife or something like that, and that dude is like, I got to get him back, and I'm going to live in this tree until I get something on him.
Yeah, it was.
There's something else. There's something else in that story. That
No,
seems
it was
crazy,
him over.
crazy.
He was out to get his first bust.
Huh.
And when they got it, they showed up with guns and they.
How crazy that your
took all
bust
the
is
meat.
like about food, like eating clean food, huh?
How dare
Not on my watch.
you
Not on my
slaughter
watch,
your
pal.
own pig? We have butchers. We have humongous factories for that, sir.
Putting a butcher out of work.
Yeah. How dare you? How dare you?
That's a trip. Yeah, it's a wild thing, man. In Michigan, they used to be able to give deer away. Like if there was a surplus from hunting camps or whatever, you could give them to like the Salvation Army, and you could feed the homeless is what it was. And then the FDA came in and they shut all that shit down. They said it was unsafe. And
People get tickets for giving sandwiches to homeless people.
Oh, really? I didn't know
They
that.
say, "Oh, well, you're not we don't know that you followed sanitary
So
protocols."
crazy, dude.
And
I mean,
all this
I've
bullshit.
seen deer on the side of the road and fucking pulled over and taken their heart and loins out. Like,
Yeah.
because there's like 100,000 deer that get hit on the side of the road in Michigan every year. It's like it happens all the time. It's not like it's. I mean, I don't know. That's what people do. Like some people are like fucking right on. There's some fresh meat for me. Like, I mean, it sounds like some hillbilly ass shit, but it's like some normal shit that goes on in Michigan a lot.
So, Logan, you do Spartans.
You got to
Spartan
go with
race?
the mic.
Oh, what? Oh, Spartan race? Yeah. Rarely, if ever. I've done something like that, but I wouldn't say I habitually do those.
Would you be interested in doing one, Tait?
A Spartan race?
Yeah.
That's where you run and then you do 100
Obstacles
push-ups
and
and then
shit,
you
yeah.
go and climb a wall and you run some more. It's all the running in between the stuff that I would not like to do.
Listen, I think if I can run,
And then that was the second part. That was like my claws pause was that I'm sitting here and I'm like, and then homie's over here with graphite feet going, I'm going to do the Spartan race. And what's going on with your articulating ankles?
Yeah.
And
Anyway.
I've never had any interest at all doing them at all. But what are you asking me?
well, I want to do one in July in Ottawa.
That's nice weather. I like it so far.
Oh yeah, it'll be good weather, and I'm gonna bring a team of other injured soldiers, police.
I'm not
something
injured,
like
so
that.
I guess I missed the list. But I will come and
No,
cheer you guys on.
We will come and follow the beard. Is how
Oh, is that
we might
right?
do
Is
it.
that what
yeah,
we're
yeah.
gonna do?
Well,
So
or maybe carry it.
We're gonna
depending on how it goes.
It could be how badly I do.
Yeah.
So that's the new idea is to go ahead and make a beard. If anybody knows how to make a beard that I can get to people, so I don't know if you put it on with a strap around your head. I don't think an adhesion really you want.
It would have to be a multi-use because the adhesion ones I think are only one time.
I think it would almost be like you'd want to
Right.
have it as a ski mask type thing,
Brian Wilson.
right? Something like that. We need some prototypes of this.
like those hoodies that zip up and they're
Yep.
like a mask.
Yep, something
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
Brian Wilson, the pitcher.
Uh,
probably.
when
had
you
something
say
like
that,
this
I
made.
always think of the
What's his
Beach
name, right?
Boys.
Brian Wilson. What?
The Beach Boys. Wasn't he the singer of the Beach Boys?
Yeah.
Okay, different guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I saw pictures of Brian Wilson because some dude in a restaurant in New York was like, "Hey, are you on Boston's team or are you on?"
Right.
And then Keith was like, "No, how about this guy?" And it was
That-
Brian Wilson that was
right.
on the Rangers or some other
Yep.
baseball team.
Yeah.
Rangers or hockey, I know that, but
There's a Rangers baseball thing.
Is there?
Yeah, so you're good.
Texas Rangers.
I mean, I don't think he's on them, but
no, he's from the Giants.
Giants.
Yeah.
Then the Dodgers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, Brian Wilson.
I think
He's
so
got
I
his
think-
own beard?
I think they made those. I think. You
Probably
might-
ought to foam because I
Tweet
feel
'em.
like baseball players are the fans tacky?
They're mostly
as fuck?
dicks, right? What?
Are they tacky?
The
kinda?
fans?
Yeah. Like they would wear a foam mustache.
Yeah, I mean, look, I got a bad perspective on sports.
I wanna ask
and
you this.
sports
I wanna
fans,
ask you
to be
this.
honest.
As a professional baseball player,
Yeah.
veteran. Is that
Okay.
I don't know what we're gonna call
Veteran
you a veteran.
sounds like I really did some
Veteran
shit. I like
baseball
that.
player, right? So I got my two veteran friends here.
Don't even
And
fucking say that.
guy that caught leather balls at 90 miles an hour. Dude that was blown up by a landmine. So a couple of veterans here. And what do you think as far as I saw a thing when I was a kid about baseball players, and they were doing a thing on whatever the ESPN wrap-up is, and my buddy's a sports guy, and he was like, oh, look at this. And there was a thing that was hilarious, and they were all at spring training camp or something, and one of the guys is on the bench, and there are guys hitting with the fake pitcher thing, and they're hitting the balls, and they go over and they interview this one dude, and he's sitting on the sidelines, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he's drinking a beer, and it's a hot day and whatever, and I guess he wanted a cigarette and a beer, and they go, hey, what kind of example are you setting, man? You're a professional athlete sitting here drinking and smoking at training camp.
Major League Nutrition.
And he goes, I am not an athlete. I play Major League Baseball. And I thought that was the best fucking answer I ever heard in my life. And so as a professional athlete, what is there, football players or who, like they fucking work out like crazy. Is there that same kind of work ethic in professional sports as far as baseball goes? Or is it a little more lax?
So I think there's a lot to learn from this video clip that you saw. First of which is that baseball players are fucking hilarious.
Real and witty, off the cuff,
yeah.
witty.
World-class shit talkers. Yeah. Right. The second part is that
I love that. There's a lot to learn.
Yeah. The second part is no. There is a certain physicality that I believe is underappreciated in baseball, but I'm not going to go down that road so far as to all your listeners rolling their eyes, because what you're saying is true. Baseball players, even at the major league level, are not all like physical specimen. There's a certain level of physical capacity required of an NFL athlete that is above and beyond anything that you could comprehend for, say, like your average Major League Baseball player in terms of like athleticism. However, I think that speaks a little bit more towards the nature of the game. So you're just talking about a very specific high skill sport.
High skill.
Like just very
to be able to hit a baseball at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, so like that matters way more than how strong you are or for how fast you are.
Right.
Now there are plenty of examples of players that like you're like, yeah, this guy's not even that lean. That is like, these guys are extremely strong, extremely durable, extremely athletic.
Hand-eye coordination, crazy good.
Yeah, but like I and no one else in like the baseball scene or Major League Baseball or anything like that are going to sit here and like try to defend the fitness.
So guys aren't trying to run faster. Like, if I could get another 0.3 of a second in between first and second, that'd be awesome. They're like, I'm pretty fast anyway, fuck it.
No, I mean, there totally is that. At the end of the day, this is a multi-million-dollar endeavor, and that, like, performance wins, right? Like, it pays to be faster. It pays to be stronger. Like, steroids is a thing in baseball. It still is a thing in baseball.
That's my next question.
Yeah.
How come everybody cares so much? Somebody said that it was like it's like some kind of federally sanctioned sport or something like that. Because I'm like, why do senators give a shit about why is this a congressional hearing about baseball players, but not for fucking, like, a lot of those guys look like supra physiologically imposed specimens, basketball players, football players, whoever. Like, clearly there's something else happening in their system besides creatine. Yeah, and nobody gives fuck all. Like, they don't go in front of Congress. They don't get charged with what did that poor guy Barry Bonds get charged with, like perjury or something like that, right? Yep. He perjured himself. Yep. How the fuck does that, like, that seems crazy to me. Well, so what's the different setup there sports wise that one is like a political, that people give a shit politically? Like, I don't understand.
Baseball's America's game, right? Okay. That's probably why it got that much scrutiny. But at the end of the day, if you ask people, like, they did a thing. They said, do you guys want us to go back to the old way, like less home runs and all that?
Somebody had said, though, that there was something, it's more than that there was something where they were bonded or something by the U.S. government or by.
Well, no, because when they were called to testify about drug use in the MLB, they all said, no, nobody does it. So then they got them on the technicality when they realized that they did do it.
Right.
It was like when they brought in a criminal and they get him on something other than what they think he
tax
did.
evasion for Al Capone
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah. So, but for them, it was, okay, well, you know, we really can't do anything about you doing steroids, but you lied to a Senate.
Can we talk about what a pussy Jose Canseco is, too? Fuck that motherfucker.
But you know what I say about this
cocksucker.
stuff? I say we let the pharma companies start sponsoring sports teams. And then...
Well, that dude from Belco, like what
Like
he said was, he said it's just an IQ test. He's like,
well,
this,
no, but
you're an
why
idiot if you get busted for
why
drugs.
not make it like Chevy versus Dodge in NASCAR? Pharma X versus Pharma Y, who hits the most home runs? Yo, check out our steroids. Obviously, it's good because you know, the Giants
other
use it.
aspect of it too, though, is like what Logan's saying is that like it doesn't matter how much Decadurabolin I take, I'm never going to be able to hit a baseball like that. I just don't. That's not in my skill set. So it's like maybe it makes those guys a bit better, but it probably makes them play longer.
But what I'm saying, like you heal. Like what's the side effect to steroids? Like look at Stallone. He's what 66 or something.
Yeah,
and
he's
he looks
older.
awesome.
Yep.
I mean, he's still making shitty movies, but so that's your side effect. And guys are doing it anyway. Like athletes are going to do it. Like look at the Tour de France, our biggest scandal, Lance Armstrong. The next guy who can win is what, like 14th or 20th,
like 26th or something. Like that,
So
yeah.
they all, and the only ones that ratted out were the ones who got caught. They said, "Oh well, yeah, I got caught, but you know who's really doing it? The guy who beat us all." So fuck that guy. So I'm saying, let's just let it go. Let's just accept that it happens and see whatever the best steroids are invented to help people heal, right? So whoever's making the best shit, let them show it through athletes that are willing to put their bodies into it anyway.
Sure.
And then
I'm not in
when you get old,
disagreement.
you can go out and you
I'm
can
for
say,
that.
"No, I want whatever Barry Bonds was taking when he was hitting all
Yeah.
those home runs," and then
I
I'll
know.
be
I
able
want
to.
whatever Ryan Nolan kept his elbows together with,
Yeah,
or whatever. Fuck, man.
I don't see the problem, man.
Because
Like,
that is the thing too. As you get older, like I know friends of mine that like they're gonna have to get their shoulders frozen or whatever because because they've just been athletes for a long time, multiple dislocations, and they're fucked now. But do you know why Congress?
No, I mean, I can't speak specifically as to any like relationships there, but you know, I think you see that in other examples as well, where like some particular topic or some particular person gets some attention and it becomes a thing, and I think that's what kind of happened here. You know, it's happening in other sports for sure. Maybe it's not. You know, we haven't seen people on trial for perjury, you know, like you have it in baseball as much. But you know, baseball got itself into some trouble because they didn't manage it well. Not that like other sports are maybe, you know, dotting their I's and crossing their T's, but like, you know, baseball is, like you said, America's game, right? It's America's pastime, and it's old, and it's extremely conservative, almost to its own detriment. But in a beautiful way, it's conservative. And when you have, you know, records that are like of this lore, you know, 60, 50,
Yeah, that's what everybody got
80
mad
years
at. They're like,
old,
I can't
you
believe
know?
he's going to beat Babe Ruth's shit or whatever.
And then you have a guy come along who, you know, is 310 pounds of like, all right, dude, if you're gonna cheat, just cheat a fucking little
That's how
bit,
big
you
he
know what I mean?
was?
Yes, it's insane. If you
He was
look,
300 plus.
he was like 300 pounds, yeah, and like,
Holy fuck.
then, you know, there's a lot of emotion around that and all that, you know. So, I mean, I'm actually in like the opposite camp. I hate performance enhancing drugs because, you know, I was the guy that didn't do it, you know. And here's my thing.
Did you have a lot of guys on your team or around you like it was known that that's what's happening?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, the biggest bummer for me is like, you know, if you're going to juice and you're going to do that thing, you might as well look like Mark McGwire did and just be half human, half something else, and absolutely reap every bit of that. But then you look at a guy like A-Rod, right, who he's a little bit bigger, but he got popped because his strength coach was like, yeah, I'm seeing him do all this stuff, but he doesn't even show up to train. You know what I mean? It's like you're talking about just laziness. You know, people getting away with like the longevity of the sport,
Right.
a little bit of this to help them get by, but they're not even maxing it out. You know, and I
Right.
was never that player, so I look at that and I'm like, fuck that guy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Really? you know, you're gonna make $30 million a year, and you're gonna like
not even
we
you're not
call
even
it
trying.
big league it, but like, you know, you're gonna like
Yep.
shove it off and whatever. So there's definitely two camps. I think you can sit and argue about where the lines are drawn all day long, but like I knew where the lines were drawn when I played.
Sure.
Right? And so when you cross the line, that's a decision you got to live with. And if you get popped, right, I think you become a dick when you all of a sudden go, what the fuck? Like, these rules. And
I kind of feel like I know what you mean about, like, you're highly offended if dudes don't play clean. Like, it's a thing. Like, it, and it's fuck, man. You know, and part of that, when I look at that, is going, here's the rules of this game, and you've agreed to abide by them. Just by your entry into it. It's kind of like when you get a driver's license, and they're like, it's a privilege to drive, and if you drunk drive,
right,
you have to give yourself to a blood test or what. You know what I mean? It's like there's things
right,
like you're going to give away your personal rights because you're now subjected everybody else to danger or whatever.
Right.
Like if you've agreed to play the game and the great game exists in this construction, which is drug free, and you're not in that construction, then fuck you, because that's what you agreed to. That was your word on it.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of it, and also and I'm not naive to like think that this is something other than my opinion. This is just my opinion,
sure,
and from my perspective. And you got to remember that my perspective is not. I'm not the guy in the stands paying a ticket to watch this thing for entertainment. Like I don't even watch baseball on TV. You know, I was 5 years old one day and decided I'm going to be the best baseball player in the world, and tackled that with intention. And then you get to a place, not that like I'm not still playing because I didn't do steroids, but like that's a real thing. You know, you show up to work one day and it's just like any other job. And so it is a bummer to compete in a very real way with someone who's maybe playing a different game in some ways. You know what I mean? Like that's the part that sucks. Not that like I have my hot dog and my beer in my hand and I want to watch like a pure sport. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that.
Do you think that there can be in this, the way we are, can there be a pure sport? Do you know what I mean? It's like
do we want a pure sport?
Well, like
the fans, even
if we did,
the fans would rather see the action. That's what I'm like. I agree with your point. Like the rules these are the rules, so we should stick to them.
Right.
But if people aren't gonna, and it's gonna be a problem, like it's always been a problem. So let's maybe the rules are the problem. If everyone's in agreement on what they're doing,
because even the fucking Olympics are dirty as fuck. They're filthy. It's ridden with it. And it's like, that's my point, is like, it's almost like with the war on drugs in general. It's like when I was locked up and I was like, wow, there's way more prevalent drug use behind bars than there is in the street. And that's just a fact. Right. And they can look inside my ass if they want. You know what I mean?
And they did.
You have zero fucking rights. They can toss all your shit. They can cut your clothes apart. They can do whatever they want. Look in your mouth, like anything. Whenever. You got no rights. And there's more drugs there than anywhere else. Who really wants to stop this? You know, it's like, I was like, this is a sham. This whole thing is just to suck money out of mom and pop taxpayer to fucking put dudes away for fucking victimless crimes, basically. And you're creating crime. Once you create that black market, you've created murder in the street. You've created robberies. You think that the federal government and police forces create crimes. That's what they do so that they can keep their business going, which is fighting crime. They don't not want crime. You know what I mean? Right. And so, like, with that, like, even under those, like, so here we are, we want a drug-free America. Well, that we just say that, you know? And so, like, to be drug-free in sports, like, do you believe it's a possibility?
I think it's an interesting question. So a possibility, will it ever be that way? I don't think it will ever be that way. Sure, anything's a possibility, but you know, like let's make a metaphor here. You know, like there's and maybe this is a good example, maybe it's not, but like there's a speed limit, right? And I think we would all agree that, like, you know, following the speed limit happens, and sometimes it doesn't happen, right?
A lot of times it's a suggestion.
Right. Now, the penalty or the consequence potentially for passing the speed limit is very real, right? I got 3 speeding tickets like in the first 6 months of having a license.
Right.
You know what I mean? That got real really quick. And so I think it's similar in sport. Like, we got to draw some lines. People are going to do their thing, but there should be heavy consequences, when those things happen.
Yeah.
And within that, humanity is going to be humanity and whatever. But, like, you're looking at a guy like A-Rod who may be banned from the sport forever. Right?
Really?
Yeah. It's like, that is
Why? What did he do? What's that crime?
Well, so I think, and forgive me if the listeners are on the ball.
Whatever.
I don't even have a TV, so I'm kind of getting this.
Beat you up on Twitter.
So I think what's happened is, A-Rod's been popped once for steroids, and it's, I believe, a 50-game suspension. The second penalty is a 100-game suspension. The third is that you're banned for life. Now, he's been caught again, but I think because he's been caught after lying about it, they're potentially going to give him 2 offenses
right.
for the one, right? Which, so you're talking about someone who is doing this over and over again. He's done it over a huge span of years, and it's like, that's cool, man. You got your dough. Like, there's consequences. Just like if no one's going to judge you. Like, Tait, if you go drive down Lincoln Boulevard 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, you could get a ticket, you couldn't. But I'm not going to call you a motherfucker, right? But if you drive 120 miles an hour in a 35, like, you're a fucking dick. You know what I mean? And there's heavier consequences for that. You know what I mean?
It's almost like they should say, you got $50 million. You can buy your way back in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or something like that. It's
Right.
like,
Well, yeah, like a clause that says you get popped and you lose half your money.
yeah.
Guys would probably be a lot more motivated.
You'll never play again. You can buy your way in for $50 million. We paid you an outrageous amount last year. Fuck yourself. You don't get to buy a 4th house, and or whatever.
But I think, you mentioned some of the, like, do we really want a drug-free America, or the same thing, do we really want a drug-free baseball, like, experience? And, I think what many sports, including baseball, are running into is, like, a lot of that question is being answered by the people who are affected by the rules. So you're running into players' unions and things like this, like, well, all right, we're going to look at the rules, but, like, let's not completely fuck ourselves here. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are voting on this stuff. So it's like, how clean do we want it? I think the same things, I saw something about this. I think the same things are happening in, like, football and hockey, for example. It's like, oh, no one would benefit from taking steroids in this sport. Like, we don't need to, and then it's like, yeah, well, the players are saying that. The players are voting on this.
Right.
Like, no shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? And until a hockey player comes out and he's 6'8", 410 pounds, and he, like, it's like
fast
running
as
through
shit,
human
yeah.
beings, then maybe it's not a big enough of a problem. You know what I mean? But, like, it's everywhere.
But that player would be loved
Right.
until they figured out why he was so awesome.
Would you then buy tickets to this hockey game?
Oh. Touche. No.
I mean, that is the thing.
Doesn't
is,
matter
like,
how awesome he is. I'm not watching hockey.
when you look at the sports and you look at, like, WWE or something like
Right.
that doesn't exist without steroids.
Right.
And that's one of the, I think, I might be wrong, but I think it's the most highly watched sports, if you were going to call it sports, in the world. Like,
Yeah.
that's how many people want that show. I was going to say that's how many dumb people there are, but that's how many people want that show, and they want it to look like that. They want to see Dwayne Johnson at 300 pounds.
Yeah. I don't know. My opinion on the whole sports thing is, like, twofold. There's this sport, right, and the stories and the competition and all the lessons and beautiful things that come with that. And then there's, like, the entertainment side, and I think
That's the difference between being a spectator and being a fucking athlete, though.
Right.
Because, like, all those stories and all, that gets drawn out. And, yeah, your families hear it, and families will say, oh, I heard this about this. Or
Right.
somebody writes a nice letter to Reader's
Right.
Digest or whatever. But really, that's for the competitors.
Right.
That's inside the rooms and training, right?
Right.
And then all the other stuff is fan shit.
Yeah, and I think there's a huge disparity between what is happening on, like, the preparation and execution side of competitors in every sport versus the people that are watching their sport.
Yeah.
And, like,
Like, what do you think about CrossFit as a sport? Not
Well,
whether it is or not, but that for sure is going to jump in.
It's a
like,
great question, because I think CrossFit breaks a lot of different molds, and it's kind of maybe not 100%, but it's still kind of shaking and like stiff arming that stereotype a bit because the spectators are so actively involved.
Right.
Like I think, and I don't want to like speak out of turn on this, but like I think that was a thing, right, with like MMA, right? It's like
for sure
you go to Vegas and you see all the tap out shirts and like bodies that are not tapping anybody out.
Right,
what
right,
I mean?
right.
Like, yo,
they're tapping
dude.
out at the buffet.
Yeah, but I mean, you see a lot of football jerseys on guys that aren't tackling anybody.
Exactly, and this is why I think that's happening for a lot of sports, and CrossFit may be shaking some of that stereotype. But this is what I'm saying is like, go back to like, Rome, and it's like bread and circus. How do you control the masses? How do you keep peace with the common folk? Make sure they're fed and entertain them. And
Christians to Lions,
right? And like, I'm not saying that like sports fans are that, but like I do worry that like you can get sold on some simple basic shit. You know what I mean? And like I think some people maybe could benefit from just getting busy on some real shit outside of watching some cats that like are living their dream doing something. You know what I mean? Like you just got a fantasy team, bro. Like you know what I mean? Like where are you at? And I don't know. I think we all are kind of screwing it up if we're not chasing our own thing. And personally, I don't know. I'm kind of just too busy doing my own thing to like watch every sports game.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, it is the thing about being involved. I think that's the neat thing too about CrossFit is that people can be involved in their own way. It's like people aren't putting together a fucking football team and going out and getting after it, right? But like everybody's like, fuck, I'm going to go to the gym for an hour and I'm going to do this. And then you're all part of that. And that is the thing with MMA too. And what took so long, I think, to bump into it is because of people's understanding of it and like understanding what technicians on the ground look like, what pressures look like. And then when they go, and now there's jiu-jitsu gyms everywhere. Like people can have a feeling and go, and they might never be more than a blue belt ever in their life. But man, that's their shit, and they know what's going on.
Totally.
And now there's an education aspect that's going on, and maybe their dream is like fucking awesome at fucking Naga in New Jersey. I won a fucking a medal at the blue belt and like fucking rad. And they're in the game, they're in the conversation.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that is, I think that is the important part. Is like. Is that whole all those trite little sayings but it's not a spectator sport, get involved in it and whatever that looks like. What do you think too? Because you're my local genius. When I look at guys and I look at like all the high level like CrossFit athletes and things like that, and you look at I always look at a couple years ago Jason Klepa and what's his name, Chris Spieler, they were tied for 5th place basically for the whole show. Right. And it was amazing because there's 100 pounds, literally 100 pounds difference between the men. And they were at an even spot like that. And I thought that was fucking rad. Yeah. But the other thing is they're doing the same weights for things and they're doing all that stuff. And my question is about muscle recruitment. Mm-hmm. And like clearly Chris Spieler needs more muscle recruitment than a Jason Klepa. How does that happen? Can you train that in a body? Does that just happen for certain people? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I think this comes up a lot for people. Per body weight and per pound. You got to remember, CrossFit's not interested in that. CrossFit's only interested in crowning the fittest man and woman on earth.
Right.
Right. Whatever that looks like. So those conversations and those arguments are fun, but I don't think Chris Spieler, who is a legend and an incredible athlete, if you asked him, he would want to be the under 150-pound CrossFit Games champion.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Now, so here's the other thing, and I feel like I'm coming up on all the shit that can potentially piss people off all day, but so here's the other thing. As someone who's taller and bigger, weigh 215 pounds or so, I always hear about how much easier wall balls are for me, and I always hear about how, you know, a 225-pound power clean for me is, I mean, that's way easier.
It's a reverse curl.
You know what I mean? But you never really hear about the fact that I am burpeeing all of me, and I'm running my ass 400 and the pull-ups.
It's the same
and all
thing
that.
in jiu-jitsu, dude.
So,
it's like everybody's
right.
like, oh, well, you know, he's a big dude or he's strong. It's like, I'm like, motherfucker, nobody tells the fast guy to not be so fast.
Right.
Nobody says that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
and not like reaching for pity or whatever. But like, so that's a great example. Spieler has to do incredible things with, you know, in terms of bearing a load, you know? Like what he did on the snatch ladder, like he had to give himself a chance. It was borderline a miracle. Amazing. You know, he's got to do everything right. And those are the things where he needs to like perform out of this world to stay in the game. However, Chris Spieler's going to take your lunch money and everything else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
go ahead and get a muscle-up competition
So
with
flip the script,
whatever,
right?
yep.
Flip the script. You know, like Khalipa's got the ball in his court on the load-bearing things, but fuck, that big motherfucker has to move through all the bodyweight stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where you can see something really interesting like that in a really balanced sport like CrossFit, where these guys that look like the polar opposite in physicality be tied for fifth or whatever the case may be.
It's
you know
so
what I mean?
neat, man.
Yeah, totally. And so I think I hear what you're saying, but I do think that there is a huge conversation around the exact opposite. What does Khalipa have to do? Like, Khalipa's willing to hurt more than anybody.
There you're talking about heart. Like, when you're talking about Spieler and a snatch ladder, you're talking about he has to be a technician. He doesn't really have to have a lot of heart. It's not grit in the same way that it is for Jason Khalipa to do fucking fast box jumps or something like that, or to go through, you know what I mean? It's a different kind of that you've got to get through.
But I think if you do the, if you do the autopsy at the end of the day of those two guys, both of those men have a heart that's about the size of a F-250.
What do you think about muscle recruitment? Is that a real thing? Back to the...
For sure. I mean, Spieler has to be efficient. So there's no leaving performance on the table for him. He's got to max it out. And I think he has said before in interviews that he is very close to that place. You know what I mean? He has to take advantage of every square inch of what he's got. And I think, he's mature enough to where he's kind of like doing that. But it's unfortunate that in like I said, the load-bearing things, there's a barbell involved or whatever
I don't
is
think
involved.
he can win anymore. It's
can't,
too advanced.
You can't leave anything on the table.
I think you've got to be in that as a sport. If you want to be a leader in there, you've got to be between 175 and 195 pounds. And if you're not in one of those, like if you're not in that weight, you're not going to win anymore. The guys are too good, and those guys are too fast. They can do all that body weight shit really well, and they can be really fucking strong. And I think if you're not in that window, you'll never see another guy win outside of that.
Yeah, and just think like about the general ethos of CrossFit is this anti-specialized thing. So the nature of the sport is going to speak to those that are inside the margins.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so not that there won't or couldn't be a champion. Anyone can play, but being an outlier doesn't speak to the test,
not here.
Right?
Now, and steroids is definitely not outside of that sport, right? What do you know about that?
I would imagine that it's not. Because
you're doing
I would imagine that it's inside of the sport, is what I meant to say in English.
They're doing 3 or 4 real arduous wads a day for 3 or 4 days straight.
Here's the thing: one would very much so benefit from the use of steroids in a sport like this. So given that logic, it's safe to say that the chances of it being prevalent or existing is huge. Now, that being said, I don't know any games athletes that have done it. Mm-hmm. I don't know more than a few personally, and I know people that have been on the podium that don't, for a fact.
Yep.
However, I think what people are starting to see, and I've seen this personally, is like the little like fitness unsanctioned competitions where you got all these like wannabe cats. There's some crazy shit's going on.
Really?
You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, like, big round puffy muscles.
Right.
Little back knee action and the whole thing. Like, but maybe there's this over some time there'll be some maturation of the population where enough of those idiots get good enough to where they can compete. I don't know. I mean, who knows?
What do you in the Army? Is there in Canada? Is there? I know in the United States, they're giving guys juice, and like the U.S. Armed Forces is
They should.
well known for giving guys steroids and amphetamines and things like that. Does that happen in Canada also?
Well, I mean, pilots all get that kind, like the amphetamines and stuff. Our pilots don't get as much, I don't think. I'm probably talking shit right now, but and I know the official line is that nobody does steroids or anything. But again, I take the position of who else would you rather take steroids?
Yeah.
Like, especially your frontline combat troops.
Yeah.
Who do you want guarding you? You want a frothing at the mouth Doberman,
right?
Who will destroy whatever you pointed
Who's
at.
Ultra sensitive to whatever happens, or like,
or do you want a Labrador Retriever?
Sketchy.
You want
a little bit
if you want a Labrador Retriever with this nice fluffy, floppy ears, he's a cute little fella, but he's not going to do shit when somebody kicks the door in.
Now for you guys, you're an elite sniper team. Like, did they? There was a video game I was playing, and
I was just
I
like
forget what it was called.
Combat's exactly like the video games.
And they would give you Valium. In the video game.
That was the guy's Snake, right?
Yeah, super solid Snake.
Steel or something.
Anyway,
it was a big game for a while.
Yeah, Cobra, Steel, I don't know. Anyway.
No.
That type of shit, does that happen there to settle guys down so they can make the shot and all that?
No. I think that was like some writer was like, what would the guys do to come?
All I'm saying is it worked great in the video game.
Oh, yeah. No, I played it. I remember because it would rattle whenever you took it. The bottle would rattle.
So good.
Wasn't that like Metal Gear?
Metal Gear and Metal Gear Solid and all that.
Metal Gear Solid,
yeah,
and you were a snake or Cobra Snake.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, nobody's... And like you take you're up for 36 hours at a time, and then you're gonna take Valium.
So when you guys are on the field like that, do you sleep ever? Or are you guys on point all the time?
You can only be on point for so long before you crash hard. So we had teams of 3 when I was there, and there's teams of 2, teams of 4. You try and make sure that somebody is sleeping at all times. Right, so there's 2 guys up, 1 guy is down, and try and get at least 4 hours of downtime.
Did you always work with the same guys, like during your?
You try because the more you work together, the better you get.
Yeah.
But a guy goes on R&R, somebody's got to fill in, right? So, but you work around each other enough that it becomes a second hat.
There are a ton of hot targets when you're in Afghanistan. Like, is it just? Every time you go out, you're zapping somebody?
No, we actually, on my deployment, we actually engaged with the sniper rifle. I mean, we're talking probably less than a dozen targets. But when it came to, like, seeing them and dropping bombs, like calling in aircraft or calling in artillery, like, I'd be surprised if it was less than 100.
Wow.
Like it was like that was constant. Like 'cause we were always in a position to see stuff,
to spot stuff, and be like, "Here's where we need to lay this
and it would be like, oh, there's some guys, and it's if they're up to no good, you just start calling in bombs.
Were drones prevalent at that time when you were in the service?
Not really.
That's
Like,
more
this is 06, right? Like there was always a predator around, and you could. If you saw something and it was all that was available, the Hellfires would start coming in, but. For the most part, like B-52s would loiter, and what they do is they loiter at like the very tip of the stratosphere or whatever. What do they call the stratofortress or something? So they'll be like, you can just barely make them out in the sky, but they have super precision GPS guided bombs, and because they have those, they don't need to drop 20, 100 bombs to hit something. You go. Yeah, hey, I have a target at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they can drop it like within 10 meters of where you want it to be. So they just drop. They'd be like, "Well, what's the target?" You can be like, "It's a reinforced bunker or something." They'll be like, "Oh, okay, we'll drop a 2,000-pounder, or they have a 500-pounder. They have and they have all these in the plane, so they can they'll choose it, and the plane will drop whatever you need.
Rad.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Like, we kept a list. We controlled pretty much every NATO aircraft that was in the area, from like Predator right up to B-2 stealth bombers. It's pretty awesome. Like, we got to play with everything.
It's amazing.
Yeah. What do you think?
I don't know.
We're at an hour 5.
How long were you in when you go out for deployment? How long would you be in the field?
Well, we usually went out ready for 3 days, and one time we went out for 20, 25, 27, something like that. But I mean, we get resupplied. You know,
I don't like that.
You get sent water. You know, you'd bathe in a well. You know, stuff like that. Like, it was.
Is that hard? Like, as far as like hunting guys and all that. Like, if you stink, if there's body odor, does that come into play? Like, is there ever?
Well, the cleaner you are, the easier you are to detect. Actually,
really?
Yeah, my girl. When I was a sniper, when I was first becoming a sniper, and I got really hardcore about it. My girlfriend, who lived with me at the time, would get she'd get pissed because for like if we were going out in the field to do exercises, for like 2 weeks before that, I'd stop showering with soap, and then I'd wash all my clothes with like just water, you know, and maybe a little citronella oil and stuff like that. But even that, it was like, because citronella has does have an odor. Yeah. So I would all my shit would be neutral, and then like 3 days before we left, I'd just stop showering altogether.
Crazy.
Because I wanted. Well, because I found guys because they refused to not brush their teeth with toothpaste. Like, they would, you know, like we would brush our teeth with just a toothbrush. And so you'd dude, like, you ever read about, like, in Vietnam, they would smell the lighting a match from a mile away and stuff?
Yeah.
That's true. You know, we'd find.
I'd imagine in a desert, it would even be more than that. There's not, like in a swamp, there's like rotting shit. There's different smells. But in a desert,
well, we never found anyone in Afghanistan because of how they smelled or anything. Like, it was a different, I don't know, we never really ended up in that position. But I'm just saying, within training, I'd sneak up on guys all the time because they were smoking cigarettes or, you know, they're chewing gum. Like, you know, they had like peppermint gum, and you'd catch it on the wind, and you'd be like, oh, okay.
Would you be able to shoot them? Like a slingshot or
the best one I did was
I would want them to pay for being so dumb. Like, really, you're gonna chew gum, stupid? You're dead.
Well, no, but you're dealing with, like, we're snipers, and we're dealing with the guys that they're privates, they're young, they don't want to be on sentry duty. It's raining. This sucks.
And now you're dead.
And now, well, yeah, but that's the game, and then that's why you get.
And
put
now
in,
all your friends are dead too because
you decided to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And have some gum. And I did this as a private. I did the same thing. 4 a.m. You don't want to be out there in the rain. Some guy will sneak up on you and knock you over. We used to go and
shoot each other with those. They're not BB guns, but they're the little white pellets, airsoft guns.
Yeah.
Such a misnomer, airsoft. Nothing airy or soft about
that shit. Yeah.
But I think that would really you'd wake guys up with those.
Yeah. I wish
it changed the way they thought about sleeping.
Well, then you'd have to walk around with like a silly like eye protection on. And
yeah,
guys just wouldn't want to do it. So they're lazy, you know.
So tell us about like your thing again. Where do we get a hold of you for your website and for
for me? I'm my Twitter is Jodi Mitic, JodyMitic, all one word, obviously. My Instagram is the same. My Facebook is the same. Jodi Mitic's easy to find if you want to find him.
Yep.
I have my charity is neverquitfoundation.ca. It's a Canadian website. .ca, obviously. But when this piece
maybe upgrade you one day.
Yeah. Well, you know, if we can afford the .com, so I think a third party has it. They want like $100 for it. We told them to go fuck themselves.
$100 if only I could get it that cheap.
Yeah. So then when I'm done with this thing with Vice, it'll come out on Vice.com, obviously. And I have no idea what the timeline is, but
maybe on the TV show too, or no?
You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know I haven't watched the HBO one. I got rid of my HBO. I got tired of paying for it, but.
And so you're doing a virtual reality PTSD.
For now, yeah, this one. But I want to do a couple more because there's other treatments coming around. There's the ayahuasca treatment, the DMT treatment. There's like guys who do acting troops. We talking about that earlier? Well, they get together as a group and they act out each other's situations, and then they talk about it together, and the doctor
the
is
hard
there.
part would be like, what do you even know your situation is?
Well,
There'd
most
be
guys
so much stuff.
most guys have
An incident.
a moment or two that they can say definitely. Some guys have a build up, but there's one particular one where it's just like that was the straw. So I mean, my biggest interest is there's a lot of treating PTSD. I want to find cures.
Yep.
You know, and I don't care. Virtual reality, they did a study, 16 out of 20 said they were cured. Awesome. But what about those other 4? What do they need? How come they didn't get cured? Maybe they need the DMT. Maybe they need the theater.
Well,
maybe
I think also like what you're talking about is like as far as it's not a death sentence. This isn't something that's forever. Like I think that gets implanted in guys' minds, and they're like, oh, I've got this, and then I have to live with this forever. And it's just I met a dude, and he was like, that's just not my experience. He's like, that's not true. He's
well,
like,
they found it. If treated, it's like a sprained ankle, right? If you don't, or a broken leg. If you don't treat it, it's going to get worse. But if treated, it gets better. Yeah. And that's how they're approaching it now. Like you said before, it was like, oh, if you got it, it was like getting told you had AIDS.
Right.
Like you're never getting rid of it.
Yep.
So now that the attitudes are changing, and like we were saying, like I don't know if we talked about it yesterday or not, but what I try and tell guys is like, look, if your truck gets broken, you don't tell the truck to walk it off.
Right.
Or go have a drink, or whatever. You send the truck to the mechanic and it gets fixed.
Yep.
So that's the same thing that we're trying to tell. Like, look, like if you had a sprained ankle, you'd go to the doc and you'd get a couple days off and you'd wrap it up. And so do the same
People
for your brain.
So strange about mental
do the
health,
same
man.
for your mind.
It's such a sad thing.
It's changing. People are realizing that if they want to have a career and they want to last and they want to be effective, then they got to start accepting help.
Because of guys like you. I mean, that's brand new.
That's what we're trying.
Is a new conversation.
There's
like,
a whole
year.
slew of guys that are out that are trying to make an effective difference. And
there's a bunch of guys I know that were fucking that wanted to get help, and they're like, but the admission of that would make me not. Well, that's viable in my job.
That's the other problem.
And guys wouldn't trust me anymore, and then.
But it's the same as if you break your leg, you're not going to be deployed.
Right. But
right. So you got to accept that if you have a problem until it's fixed, they're not going to send you anywhere.
But it's like you can calculate a broken leg, and you can go, oh, now he can run on it. Like when you're talking about,
I know.
You know, there's all those.
You got to lead a long life, man.
Yep.
Don't the big green machine's going to roll on with or without you.
Yeah.
Don't burn out. Now, trying to keep up when you can last for 30 years if you want. You just got to treat yourself right. But that's easy for me to say because I'm no longer operational, right? You know?
You seem pretty operational.
I'd go back if I could. I would. I'd go back. But, I mean, I would be a liability too, right? I mean, if we had perfect robot feet, then sure. But, I mean, anyway, the point is that the attitudes are changing.
Will you change your feet as they grow with technology?
Oh, shit, yeah. In 25 years, I'm planning for everyone to be jealous I had my feet blown off because I'm going to be flying around like Astro Boy.
Right on.
So you wanna get out of here?
Yeah, pretty soon.
What do you think, Logan?
Yo.
Tell me about your new fish oil.
Oh, the newest, the latest and greatest.
The latest and greatest of fish oil.
So we've been working pretty hard over the last, it's been a while actually, months and months. So we did a couple new SKUs. So the fan favorite, the functional 03, the kind of everyman's Rockstar fish oil. We made a 500 ml size, which I think officially I haven't come across a brand anywhere in any sector that will give you more pure EPA and DHA per $1 than that. So I think it's 3,438 milligrams of EPA and DHA per $1, which is like a big value thing, wherever. So then there's that guy. And then we also brought out our second oil, a different oil, the Performance 03. And this is kind of exciting in a couple ways. Not only is it much more concentrated, like twice as concentrated as the Functional 03, it's also, we've done this for competitive athletes, right? So less of the general health, cognitive function, eye health, DHA story, and it's heavily weighted in EPA. So we're not only making it kind of more potent and more badass for athletes, but it's just more of the stuff that athletes are looking for. So it's unique in that way. It's tailored, right, for an athlete who's trying to win at something. So we're talking about this recovery piece, right? Anti-inflammatory piece.
Seems to be the biggest part.
Right. For like us, you know what I mean? Like my mom or my grandma may take fish oil for other reasons,
right.
and so maybe that's a little bit less appropriate. But for someone who's training like we are, or
you want to do multiples, and you want to keep
you're doing your thing.
your octane high. Like you've got to recover, and you've got to be minimized with your inflammation.
It's, in a great way, this community that this bigger community that I think we live in is very well educated, and they're looking for the best of the best, and they know what that is, and so there's a demand for incredibly powerful, potent, high performance stuff.
That's the cool part about the community in that way. To me is that it's
totally.
like real personal, and it's real interactive, and we know what we want, and we go, and like that's really like how like Pirate Life, when that website goes off, and what CavemanCoffeeCo.com, and like what that's been is like, here's products that we wanted that don't exist right now, and let's make those products. And it's happening everywhere. It's fucking really neat, man.
Totally.
Because it's like, because why not? Because I don't need to wait for Kraft or Nabisco or fucking whatever to fuck up what I want anyway. You know what I mean? So rad. And where can we find that?
So originalnutritionals.com. We're on all the cool places: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. On those Insta, Twitter channels, it's at O, like the letter O, Nutritionals. What's it called again? Original Nutritionals. Yeah.
And it's O Nutritionals. It's at O Nutritionals.
Correct.
On
Instagram and Twitter. Yep.
Rad, and you're at Functional Coach.
Functional Coach. Yep. We're doing all this cool stuff.
And we're at Deuce Gym.
Deuce Gym. Deuce, DEUCE.
_
Gym.
On Instagram and
it's
Twitter.
iPhone friendly.
Rad, thank you all very much. And until next time.
Thank you. Pirate Life. Yeah.
Yeah.